teams that nobody expected to finish as champions. Back in 2012, the Africa Cup of Nations kicked off with all eyes on big name teams like Ivory Coast and Ghana, while most people didn't even have a team like Zambia on their radar. In fact, their odds of winning the AFCON were 40 to 1. But what happened next was one of the most emotional underdog stories football has ever seen. You see, Zambia had a pretty hot start to the tournament. They were led by coach Hervé Renard, who years later would lead Saudi Arabia to a historic win against the eventual World Cup winners Argentina. And his Zambia side didn't just scrape by in the group stage, they actually topped their group. They beat Senegal, drew with Libya, and took down co-host Equatorial Guinea. It wasn't flashy, although it definitely was efficient. But the real test came in the knockouts. The thing is, they absolutely dominated Sudan in the quarterfinals, winning 3-0. Then in the semis, they shocked everyone by beating Ghana 1-0, who were one of the heavy favorites to win the whole thing. Suddenly, this team that no one expected to be in the tournament for very long was in the finals. But the story gets even crazier for a completely different reason. As it turns out, the final of the AFCON that year was going to be played in Libreville, Gabon. That exact location was just miles away from the site of the tragic 1993 plane crash that killed 18 Zambian national team players. The final wasn't just a match, it was spiritual. The players felt they were playing for something bigger. But this wasn't going to be an easy task for Zambia by any means. They had to play the tournament favorites, Ivory Coast, who were led by Didier Drogba, who was keen on delivering an AFCON trophy to his country. Regardless, Zambia managed to contain Drogba, who actually missed a penalty kick during the match. And Zambia held on to a 0-0 draw to force the game into penalty kicks. And just when you thought the story couldn't get any wilder, it did. What I mean is that after each team took 5 penalties, the match was still drawn, so the game entered sudden death penalties, meaning if one team made their attempt while the other team missed, the game would be over. This was already intense, but what made it even more intense was that Zambia and Ivory Coast kept matching each other's penalty results until the game reached a total of 22 penalties when Gervinho finally missed and Zambia converted their final penalty to win 8-7, and the scenes were insane. Coach Hervé Renard carried an injured player during the medal ceremony, and the team laid wreaths at the beach where the 1993 crash had happened. They weren't just lifting a trophy, they were lifting a nation's broken heart.